Hi there, so my name is Richard and I want to thank you for watching. So I'm doing the follow-up video from the one I did last week, requesting that people send in their questions to celebrate having 200 subscribers. I'm really pleased with the response I got. I got a lot of good ideas actually for more, for longer videos down the track, which I'm grateful for. So that gives me some good ideas. But the majority of questions I got today were surrounding the business of photography, obviously, that's what I talk about, but specifically about getting clients back, getting reviews, that type of thing. So I'd like to talk about those now. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Richard. I'm a full-time photographer here in Australia. I own this studio with my wife. Our studio turns over multiple six figures per annum. We're on our way towards turning over $1 million per annum, which we're very excited about. I make these videos because I enjoy talking about business and helping other people where I can. And in the interest of transparency, I am doing this to establish a personal brand because I've got visions of being a speaker and educator into my 60s when I decide to stop actually shooting. So without further ado, let's get into this. And the first question comes from Joza. I'm sorry, I don't know your real name, but he goes on to say, I'm a big fan of your videos and your generosity, thank you. I know you do a great video on getting headshot clients, but I'd love to hear suggestions for someone who is starting out from absolute zero and having no luck getting headshot clients. Thank you for all that you do. So I've made some notes for this as I go along. I prepared a little bit, so I wanted this as live as I can, okay? And hence the bullet points. So the first thing I would do is I would go and find a whole bunch. If you're starting from zero and you've got nothing, is I'd first of all identify who you want to shoot. Now, my suggestion would be to target the markets that are the easiest and the people with the money, which is generally professionals, okay? So we're talking doctors, lawyers, professional services, those types of people, okay? And then what I would do from there is I would then contact all your friends. If you've got any friends who are professionals, contact them or contact friends of friends who have friends like that and offer to photograph those people for free. Okay, that's what I would do. And what I would do is I would treat it as a practice session to practice your lighting and that type of thing, and posing especially, okay? And I would be smart about it, and I would try and photograph men and women, okay? And I would aim for the type of people that you're after. So in my case, where I have a lot of success is corporate looking photos, so people in suits. So make sure you pick people who look like that, and who are prepared to do that. Because I think if you just go out and photograph a whole bunch of friends, then they just start to look like a bunch of random portraits. You do need to match your portfolio with the audience that you're after, okay? And so what I would do is I would aim for like 5 to 10 businesses to do for free. Okay, now, a lot of people are scared when you say free, but you've got to remember these people are paying in their time and your lack of expertise. So they're kind enough to give up their time, for the photos. So I would look at it like that. Okay, that's the first thing I would do. Okay, and I'd aim for 5 to 10 companies, and I would do it very strategically. Okay, so first of all, I'd create. I'd be looking for teams. Okay, so where you can put teams in a grid of photos. You know what I mean, like a grid of 9 or something like that, where they all look very similar, or better yet, with branded clothing, corporate wear. So a good one would be banks. Now you're not going to get them out of the gate, but there are lots of institutions like franchises and things like that that would be quite happily allow you to go in and update their headshots for free. And so there's that. And then what I would do is I would sort of make it not a condition, but make it really clear that the reasons and the intentions why you're doing it, okay? So you need to make it clear that you're doing it for portfolio, that they've got to be okay that you're using them for a website and things like that and for advertising, okay? They've got to be clear on that. If they're not prepared to do that, there's no point in doing this, okay? And then the other thing I would lean into is I would really strongly request testimonials and Google reviews. Now, you've got to be careful how you ask for Google reviews, because you can't make that a condition of doing something for free. Google doesn't allow that. And it's not worth the risk of getting banned from Google if somehow Google figures it out. So what you can do there is you can say, look, if you feel like you did a good job and you're comfortable doing so, we would really appreciate a Google review and a testimonial. That would be really helpful. And I would just leave it like that, and then send some gentle reminders after the shoot for that, because people forget. I promise you. You got to give them a bit of a nudge in that direction. And in terms of actually then getting the clients, what I would do is I would build a very simple website. Okay, I'd have that portfolio of the people that you want. Keep it looking fairly consistent for your target market. And what I mean by that, there's not a lot of point, in my opinion, in having like a guy in a suit, a lady in a business suit, and then like an actor. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it looks cool, but there's kind of a disconnect. I think it's worthwhile if you want to do this just for the money, which I'm sure you do, is just pick a niche and stick to it. If you want to do actors, that's great, but just have actors on your website. I think that's probably a good way to do it. That's the way I would do it to start with, anyway. Okay, until you get a whole bunch of portfolio. And then what I would do is I would put that portfolio on your website. I think I just said that, didn't I? And add the testimonials to your website, okay? And then what I would do is I would run Google ads to get clients, because what you got to remember with headshots is they are need-based, okay? Meaning that people will go and find headshot photographers when they need something. So that's why Google advertising works, because people go to Google to find things, okay? It's not interruption marketing like you do with portraits. The other thing too is if you'll notice that when you sign into your, if you haven't got one, you'll need a Google profile, okay? A Google business profile, and they actually have a $600 ad like a starting amount to get you started. So that's what I would do there for sure. And I think you'll find that by doing that will get the ball rolling. But the main thing is you've got to start somewhere. So I would start by getting portfolio, because you've got nothing to show, you've got nothing to show. So next one is, the second one is my friend Lorraine. Now Lorraine is a pet photographer here in Australia. She owns a legendary studio, Zoo Studios. It's been around forever. She's one of the best in Australia, and she asked me, love your videos, always great information. What would you suggest about getting reviews from clients? How do you go about getting Google reviews? So I already did a whole video on this, which I'll put in the description. I'll put a link in there. But in a nutshell, honestly, the trick to getting Google reviews is you've just got to ask for them. That's really the big thing, and I think that's a mistake that people make, is they don't ask. And so the way that we do it is we have an automatic email set up in our sequence. So when we book in a shoot, based on the date of the shoot, the next day, an email will go out to those clients requesting a Google review. And the trick to that is what you do is you go again, referring to your Google business profile. There's a button that says get more reviews. If you click on that, that will produce the link, and you just copy and paste that link into the email. And then when you get your CRM, or if you haven't got a CRM, you just do it manually. If you're not that busy and you've got time, then just send it out to them. And the link, when they click on the link, what will happen is it will go to the Google. It will bring up a prompt for them to leave a Google review. And that's how I do it. So that's just the way that I do it. Some people have like a little thing in their studio with a QR code to try and get them. Alrighty, pushing ahead. Now, this guy called David, so he asked two questions. The first question is the most successful marketing channels and how to build them and results to expect. He says he's currently building a photography business, and marketing is the biggest challenge. Instagram Reels, Facebook and Instagram ads. And he's put in a separate question, how to develop content in this highly TikTok and Instagram Reels world, SEO and website versus social media. Now, I'm missing a bit of information here. So depends on your market a little bit, I think. If you're in the, if you're in the business to consumer market, like if you're doing families, pets, newborns, that type of thing, then you're kind of in the retail market. If you're doing headshots and commercial stuff, then you're in the business to business world. Okay, so there's a bit of a distinction there. Now, I'll talk about it from this angle here. So I'll talk about if you're doing, business to consumer. So if you're doing a portrait studio, I think that the fastest way to get clients is through paid advertising. I've proven that myself. Okay, and the way that works is it's a big subject, and I've done like whole courses over a couple of days on this, but very briefly, what you do is you put together a compelling offer, okay? In other words, an offer that's so awesome that people want to participate in it, okay? And that can vary in all different levels, but that's step one. And probably the most popular one with photography studios is some sort of competition where they can come in, do the shoot, and kind of have a prize of a single photograph at the end or something like that. And then it's your job to provide them an amazing experience and have them have systems set up along the way where at the end of it, they feel not compelled or obligated, but certainly want to purchase more photographs. And that's the model that, to be truthful, that I use for the Boudoir studio, something in that line there. So honestly, I think that's the quickest way to do it. For business to business stuff, I talked about this before a little bit. It's harder. There's no really quick way of doing it. You know what I mean? It takes, you just got to give it time. But with business to consumer stuff, with portraits, pets, families, babies, whatever, you can actually expedite that really quickly. I've seen studios after being only open a fairly short period of time, when putting some money into advertising, sort of start to have $20,000 to $30,000 a month pretty quickly. Okay, so it is possible to do that. Now, with the content, so the way that I treat Instagram and all TikTok and Reels and all that type of thing is I actually use them mainly just to prove that I'm trading, prove that we're doing stuff, and acting as a social proof that that we're busy. You know what I mean? That we're busy. And what that does is that actually supports our paid ads. So what generally happens is people see a paid ad and they will check you out and they go, okay, well, they're doing stuff, that's good. And they'll Google you and check your Google profile and they go, okay, well, that's great. And then they'll take the next step. So that's the way I see the the free stuff that you put out, the reels and the entertainment stuff, as supporting content for my paid ads. Don't get me wrong, I do get bookings from those, okay? I do, but I wouldn't want to be relying on them to be truthful. I don't care what anyone says out there on YouTube and places like that. I see these videos where people say, I did these videos and I got 1 million inquiries and now I'm so busy. I don't believe that. Sorry, I just don't. But life doesn't work that way, unfortunately. I wish it did. I wish it was that easy. Don't get me wrong, you can build a business on the back of it, but it's a long game if you're going to do that, in my opinion. Now, in terms of actually doing it, I think that's what you're asking, mate. But I would just start. Don't be perfect. Just start, and then what will happen is you'll kind of get ideas as you go along as what will work. Meaning you will get feedback from some of the videos that you do, and you'll start getting a feel for what works and what doesn't. Okay, and it's like this YouTube channel. Like I started this 10 months ago, and to be truthful, the reason I started it was because I sucked. I mean, I genuinely sucked at talking to camera, and it drove me mad that I wasn't very good at it because I wanted to send off video letters to people, to potential clients, rather than having to type out giant emails, because I think it's very difficult to convey tone in emails, and I was just really bad at it. So I thought, well, maybe if I start a YouTube channel, I'll kill two birds with one stone. I'll get some credibility for what I want to do in the future and get better at talking to camera. Now, whether I've gotten better or not, it's another matter. I'll leave you guys to judge that. But the point being is that I just made a start. And if you go back to my very first video, it's awful. It's really bad. I didn't even have a studio light because I've existed with using studio strides my whole time. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's just make a start. Don't worry if you suck. No, honestly, no one cares. Everyone's really self-conscious about it. But at the end of the day, I promise you, no one cares. But just make a start, and you'll get better at it. And then when as you get clients, and you'll be ready to create better content. So I hope that answers your question, mate. I'm not 100% sure if I did. Next one, this is a message from Daniel. Daniel is one of the original subscribers. Hi, Daniel. I hope you're well, mate. He's been following me since day one, so he's one of the OGs. This is not so much a business question. So his question is more about confidence. So his question, he's got here, my question is more to do with confidence over business related. It goes on, with your photography niche and what you've done in the past, were you ever nervous and feel off when trying to make clients and make them feel welcome? Or have you always been confident in yourself and confident in telling clients how to pose, etc.? And what tips have you got to gain confidence with dealing with clients? For example, he's a warehouse worker, so he doesn't deal with public, okay? But he wants to become a portrait and family photographer full-time. So going from a job that doesn't deal with customers to dealing with clients and telling them how to do stuff, etc., is obviously very daunting for Daniel. Now, to answer your question, yes, I was nervous in the beginning, especially the first wedding I did. My God, I was nervous. But I think the only way to do it is to do it. So I've got some notes here. I did this on a separate slide because there's a bit to talk about. So let me have a drink first. 1 sec. So step one, I believe that confidence comes from practice and experience, right? I firmly believe that. So I've got a suspicion that your problem, not your problem, but your issue is that you just haven't done enough of it yet. And so it's the chicken and the egg thing, isn't it? Like, so how do you get confident? How do you get good if you haven't been exposed to the work, or if you haven't got a job with someone who's done it before? Because that's how most people get started in business. They've worked somewhere else, they've got confidence in what they're doing, and then they go out and do it themselves. That's how most businesses then get started. But if you haven't got that, then that's problematic. So this is what I would do if I were you, mate. I would, first of all, I'll tell you my story. Is I was a musician back in the old days, and to give us confidence to go on stage, because it's nothing worse than getting up and playing live. It's brutal. So it's a good motivator to get good. So we used to, rehearse endlessly before gigs and tours and stuff like that. And photography is the same, I think. I think you need to practice. And I think it's a really underrated thing, is finding people to practice with. We tend to get more obsessed with worrying about getting an 85mm lens at 1.2 or something, thinking that would be the magic bullet to making the photographs look good. That's not the case. In my opinion, you need to practice. So the first thing I would do is I would put some time and effort into studying how to pose people and all different body types, and males and females and kids, and how to arrange groups and all that type of thing. And the person that I would check out for that is an online educator, and she's got a ton of videos on YouTube, Creative Live, and her own stuff on her website. A lady called Lindsay Adler. Lindsay's I don't know Lindsay at all. Because I don't live in America, I've never met her. But she's a Canon Explorer of Light, and she just seems to be good at everything, to be truthful. So that's who I would study. I think she's got a book on posing as well. And she's really good across all genres. So I'll just grab her stuff just for simplicity. Okay, that's step one. Then what I would do, if it was me, if you're really serious about starting a business and going full time, if you're fair income about it, this is what I would do, and this is kind of what I did. Is I would have a 6-month plan. Okay, a 6-month confidence plan. Okay, and what I would do is I would shoot every week for 6 months, and I would do it for free. Okay, I'll tell you why. I'll start first of all with your family and friends. Okay, and I would do it like I said before in that other video. I'll do it in exchange for the use of the photographs. So there's no point in photographing people if they're not prepared for you, they're going to let you use their photographs. Meaning, if they're sensitive about their kids going online or something like that, then don't photograph them. There's no point. You need those photographs for portfolio, okay? And also in exchange for testimonials. Now, I've said this before, you can't make it a condition to do the shoot in exchange for a testimonial, but you can lean towards it and say you would be really grateful if they gave you one if you felt you were worthy of it, okay? Then after you've done, like, I don't know, let's say you've done 10 weeks, like roughly 2.5 months of doing friends each weekend, because obviously, your time is limited, obviously, very limited. I would then venture into the world of strangers. And what I would do is I'd put a really simple ad up, either on, I'd probably just stick with Facebook because it's easy, because it's easier to write more text. Maybe add it to the local community groups, and just tell them the truth. Just say that you're looking to gain experience, you've got goals for becoming a full-time studio photographer, and you want models. This is actually a genuine model call, okay? And tell them you want to, just tell them the truth and tell them the conditions that they've got to be prepared to do it. And that will give you exposure to strangers and give you the confidence to interact with strangers, okay? Now, again, I mentioned this before, a lot of people are very queasy about doing it for free, and a lot of people yell at people doing it for free in photography. They say, oh, you're taking work away. I don't see it that way. It's not for free. They're paying you with their time to help you with your inexperience, okay? You will gain more. I did this with my first weddings. I did my first whole bunch of weddings for free. That's how I got started, literally for free. And they're big days, you know what I mean? So you'll gain more from doing that than I promise you. Actually going out and doing it, making mistakes, all that stuff. And because you're doing it for free, there's no stress, okay? Now, in terms of the interaction that you're worried about, honestly, mate, just step one is be yourself. Just be your authentic self. If you're a shy, quiet person, just do that, mate. Honestly, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine, okay? If you're outgoing, loudmouth like me, then just be like that, okay? Whatever suits you. There's a whole, the trouble with like training or I guess what I'm trying to say is education about self-improvement is there's so much of it. Probably the easiest place to start, mate, is just buy that book by Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read that years ago. It's excellent. That will probably help you with all of your nervousness about dealing with people on a one-to-one basis. It will tell you how to make these people warm to you. And if you treat this whole thing as like a 6-month university course, like meaning going to uni for 6 months, I promise you, mate, you'll be fine. You'll do really well. And I promise you, mate, if you do that, you'll go from here to here confidence-wise, you'll go from here to here photography-wise. And if you tackle it from the point of view of learning from all your mistakes, so if you analyse your photographs from a constructive constructive criticism point of view, then you can go into the future photo and you'll get better and better and better at it. So that's what I would do, mate. That's what I would do. And you'll be a different person. Absolutely. Next one. This is my friend Anita from Canada. I know Anita. I know Anita really well. She's a really super talented photographer of women as well. She's excellent at it, and she wants to say my best take on the best way to get new clients. I've already talked about this. Again, I'll repeat myself. But if the best is the definition of the fastest, it's a good idea to define what the best is. The best way to get clients is through referrals. Okay, obviously they're your best source of leads. Okay, because you'll generally convert those the easiest. But the fastest way for volume and to get clients quickly is again through paid advertising. Now, I'm reiterating this, but paid advertising, or otherwise known as interruption marketing. Okay, and what they mean by interruption marketing is you put ads on social media and people scrolling and something catches their eye, they stop, and you've got an offer of some sort and they'll inquire into it, and then then the theory is, which is what we do, you take that inquiry, you book them in, you turn that booking into a client, you turn that client into a good paying client, and then you turn them into a client for life. Okay, I think that's the best way, but like I just said, it works best for families, pets, glamour, boudoir, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I would do. So next one is from a guy called Matt. He said, I'd love to hear my best advice for someone who has a very solid side gig freelancing, bringing in about a quarter to a half of his day job income, but needs advice for making it to the next level of clients and workload to make it a full-time thing. I then go on to ask him what's he into, and basically from what I can gather, he's into business to business stuff, which is a mixture of headshots, branding photography, corporate video. He does a bit of both by the sound of it, and that's a good market to be in. I think it's a growth market actually. All right. Okay, so I thought a bit about this one before I did this video. So I just want to just give some food for thought, because I've been through this myself. Okay, in a different business. Okay, if you're currently earning 20 to 50% of your day job income, and I don't know where you are in the world or whatever, but let's just say you're on $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year. Okay, I'm only using that for super round numbers. Okay, you might not be on that. Just for the sake of percentages, just makes it easier to work out. Okay, so if you're 25 to 50% of your day job income, then obviously your side gig is bringing you 25 to 50,000 based on that $100,000, if that's your thing. So here's the thing, right? I think this is a mistake that a lot of people make when they decide to get into business. So they'll leave their job and then start a business doing the same thing, okay? And so the thing is, if you're just there to replicate your wage, I think that's foolish, okay? The reason I say it's foolish is because why on earth, I mean this seriously, why on earth would you want to have all the hassle of having a business? Like, you got to do the marketing, you got to work longer hours, you're going to kill yourself in the first bit getting established, okay? When in reality, you could just simply stay in the same thing, doing the same thing, and then have the weekends off and paid holidays and superannuation, all that sort of stuff. So you got to ask yourself your question that. Now, in your case, because you're earning some extra money on the side, again, you're using the 100,000 as an example, okay, that obviously means that you're bringing in 125 to 150 a year. Okay, so that means you've got to replicate that. Because if you just go and replicate your income, you're actually going to be losing money on where you are now, okay? Look, seriously, I think if you're going to go to all the hassle of starting a business now, if you're wanting to get into it just to be your own boss, all those types of things, a bit of real talk, honestly, it's not what it's cracked up to be, okay? You're the one who, the buck stops with you. You're still working for someone, you're working for yourself, and a lot of times you're working for a lunatic. I know I am in my case, okay? So there's that. So I think what you need to do is you need to have a realistic target, like, again, using that thing, if you're 125 to 150 all in at the moment, I think you should be having a goal of 300 plus turnover. That's turnover, which will bring you in photography, gross profit. In your case, if you're doing business stuff, you'll get to keep most of it. There'll be obviously expenses and wear and tear and that stuff, but because you're not providing physical product, you'll get to keep a good portion of it. Taxes and things are a different matter, but you've got to pay taxes and things like that with a regular job as well. So if you're going to be going down that track, the way that I would do it, knowing what I know now, and you obviously know a bit because you're doing really well with it, obviously by the sound of it, but I think you probably know what you need to do. You need to live in LinkedIn, okay? You need to be constantly creating content in there so people know who you are and what you do. I'll join the Chamber of Commerce and rub shoulders there. I would probably join in your case, I'd probably join BNI as well, because if you're creating business-to-business content, which is what it sounds like, that would be good. Attend or create marketing events, like that's a good thing to do. Build some strong marketing materials to put out there into the world. I remember back when I started my first business in IT from scratch, we physically mailed out a whole bunch of pamphlets and things like that, and even went door to door in some cases. Just anything you got to do. That's what I mean. You really got to hustle when you're starting out like this. So if you want to do that would be my suggestion. It's not an easy path, and you might have to just sacrifice some income initially to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, don't look at it like you've got to get to that income you've got now. Look at it. You might have to drop back and lose some income to go forward, because you need to put some time into it. But if you're doing that sort of figures, 50%, I think you'd be okay by the sound of it. Hope that was okay. Next one is Mary Beth. Another person. No, thank you for your questions, all these people. She's a very talented boudoir photographer, and she's awesome. And she's got the question: how do you get clients to come back for another boudoir shoot after their first? Some look at it as a one-time bucket list thing, and she'd love to bring some of her favourite clients back. So the way that we do it is, step one, we stay in contact with everyone. So we've got a private Facebook group that works well for that. So once the women are in that Facebook group, they continue to see that content going forward. We send Christmas cards every year to all our clients. That's a really good way of staying front of mind. We send them texts on their birthdays and things like that, just constantly remind them who we are. And then what we do is, what I choose to do is, I do one big offer at the beginning of the year in January. That's just after Christmas is when I decide to do it, because we don't open in January because of the school holidays, because we're a boudoir studio. It's just a pain in the ass dealing with school holidays. And so what we do is we put out a big offer there, and only to our existing clients. We make it really clear in the email out that we send out that it's only available to our pre-existing clients. So we make that offer bigger and better than any of the other offers we put out in the public, because I think you got to do it. Because the really nice thing is, when you're dealing with repeat clients, it doesn't cost you anything to get those clients. Just a little bit of elbow grease, with emails and things like that. And what you'll find is that the strength of the offer is what creates that pull through of the clients. So pretty simple, really. But the big thing is to stay front of mind, and people will just contact you as a natural consequence as well. I think it's really important to keep on top of your social media, and if you're organised, your email newsletters. So that's what I would do. Okay, next one. Please tell us, so this came in via an email. It is a fellow called Steve. He says, I'm a portrait headshot photographer in Liverpool. Thank you for the YouTube videos. He has a question about headshots. What do you use for managing corporate shoots, upselling private galleries, and the like? He's done many successful events and not succeeded commercially. I don't quite know what that means, I'm sorry. I have an event where the company wants one image per employee, but I'd like to upsell to each of them. Thanks, Steve. Okay, I'll go through these best I can. The first thing is, we don't send galleries. That's step one. We choose to make them choose. What I do is I get them to choose their photos on the spot, and the reason I do that is, honestly, it's just for time, because that way then when the day's finished, all we have to do is edit the photos and send them to them. Done. Because if you start sending them in galleries, it just turns into a pain in the ass, as you'll be aware. People steal photos, they'll screen grab them, and there's nothing you can do to stop them, because people don't understand, like the employees don't understand what's going on in the bigger places. But more importantly, you can just deliver everything quickly, close off the job and send an invoice. That's why we get them to choose. So we do that either on the back of the camera, with an iPad tethered via Wi-Fi, or the old-fashioned cable to a computer. So that's how we do that. So now, your question about upselling each of them, what you're going to find, mate, is that if it's a bigger company, like this, what it sounds like to me, is it's very difficult to upsell them, in my opinion, because They've made the decision that they're going to do this thing. Each employee is getting one thing for the website, for LinkedIn, for their internal IDs, or whatever it is that they're doing. So that's a hard upsell. If you're talking about marketing to them, if they're coming into your studio, that's a different thing. They'll see all your stuff and you will potentially get a booking like that. But if you're going on site and on doing it, that's a tough one. Selling them more photos would be difficult. You keep it really simple and just give them your card. That would be one way you could do it. And then I've got quite a lot of work out of just doing. I don't actually have any cards anymore, which I need to fix. Yeah, so you could do that now. But one thing you could do is that does work, I should say, is in the bigger places is try, if you can, try and have a conversation with the boss, the CEO, or whoever's the head person. And where I've had success is not so much in upselling the team, but in upselling the executive team, the CFO, the CEO, etc. Okay. And the way that I do that is I just have a conversation with them and I say, okay, I say, look, I've got the brief. I understand that you all want this thing, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions. And the way that I phrase it is I say, look, you're obviously in charge of this business. Do you have anything to do outside of the business? Do you speak at any industry bodies? Do you sponsor the local soccer team? Do you do these other things? Meaning, do you need different sorts of photos for different types of things that you put out there? So, like wearing a suit might not be suitable in the community, if you're sponsoring something at the local school or something like that. And you just plant the seed, and quite often what you'll find is, and I've had this before, the executive staff will say, yeah, no, we would like to do that. We would like to get 4 photos for each person, okay? One with a jacket and tie, one with just a jacket, one with a different coloured shirt. You know what I mean? Just variations on a theme. And that's worked for me quite well. So that's one way you can upsell. The second way you can upsell is, this is more in mid-sized businesses, right? And that is offer to do composite team photos. And the way that I do it anyway is when I do the headshot, I then take a full length one of each person and then just composite. If you go to my website, you'll see them, but you can composite them, each person, into the photo. Save the Photoshop file, okay? And then what you can say to these people is you do it like that, because that way then if they add more team members, they don't have to do the whole shoot again. You just go out, either you go out and shoot them, or they come into your studio and you do that one person, okay? Because when you say it like that, that's the trick. You've got to say it like that, because what usually stops people from doing this, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, you know what? They're thinking, they don't say it out loud, obviously, but they say, we've really got to get rid of Jessica from accounts because she's a pain in the ass and she's causing heaps of disruption. And that's why they don't want to do it. But so when you say that you can remove people in and out because of growth or whatever, they think, oh, okay, we can do that. And then when we get rid of her, we can then substitute in the new person. And then the upside of that too is, because you've got the file with all the people in it, they're kind of forced to come back to you. So it's kind of, that's how we get a lot of our recurring, now I think about it, that's how we get a lot of our recurring B2B work in the headshot world. So there's a few things you can do, but to be truthful, there's not huge amounts you can do. It's not like the opportunity you've got with business to consumer portraiture, with families and dogs and things like that. And this is the last one. This is from Stu. Stu's another long-time follower. Thank you, Stu. He's got a few questions. He wants to know, how do I make women feel comfortable? I'm guessing you're supported by your wife and your makeup team, but before then, how do you make them feel confident when they come to see you? Second question is, do you have any advice for getting them to relax into the shoot? His work is portraiture, not boudoir, but there is overlap, which is true. It's kind of the same thing in a lot of ways. Getting to be open and vulnerable for the lens. Is BTS important for social media? Behind the scenes is what he's referring to then. He sees I do lots of that, which is true. And what have you done that's what do you respond with when you're approached to do photography that is in your niche? Okay, and am I still doing coaching? So, first question is regarding how do I make women feel comfortable. So we have a ladies only Facebook group, and we send a whole heap of documentation on the run through for them to answer. So we get them involved in the lead up to it, and that way then they're feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident, okay? And like I said, also we have a ladies only Facebook group. I mentioned this before. And what makes it a VIP group in our case is we only have clients and friends coming in, and so those ladies will see, you know, regular ladies coming in and give them the confidence to do it themselves, because we've got a tradition where we get a photo. Well, I actually do it standing next to them, next to a welcome sign, before they get their hair and makeup done, okay? And what that does is women will see it, and they will kind of see it. Well, this is what they tell me anyway, okay? What they've told me is they say, oh, you know, these women seem just like me. You know, it gives them the confidence to come in. So that we nurture them all the way through to the time of the shoot, okay? In terms of relaxing into the shoot, the first thing is don't rush it. Take a little bit of time of getting to know them, okay? So just do that. The way that I do it is I actually demonstrate the posing, okay? So I'll actually get on the bed and do the arching and everything. It's really silly because I'm an overweight middle-aged guy, and so them seeing me do it kind of just lightens the mood, and they think. But I think part of it is they go, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So that's what I do there. Excuse me. The important thing is to be constantly complimentary and encouraging. That's really important. So, you know, go tell them you're doing well, all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? If you've got problems, don't show it on your face. If something's not working, pretend that it's working and just continue on as nothing happened. You just got to build up their confidence and not their ego, but certainly their confidence through the shoot. And you do that with feedback. And another thing that I do is I've got this one thing that I do with every single shoot. And it's just one of those photos that everyone likes, okay? And I will show them that one photo on the back of the camera. I'll say to them, look, here's one photo just to give you some confidence what we're doing is working. And they go, oh my God, and lose their minds. And I just say, look, I'm not showing any more photos to the end, okay? Otherwise we'll be here for 3 months. And I go, that's fine. But just that then gets them going. Resist the temptation of constantly showing them photos. I think that's a death trap. I really do, okay? Right, the other thing too is I do mention at the beginning is that I share my, what's the word I'm looking for? My shortcomings. So for example, I've got a camera here, which is bad. Pretending this is my camera. For example, pretend that's the back of my camera on my phone, is I'll say to them, look, I just want to figure in on a couple of things. My vision's really bad. And if you see me squinting, if you see me making this face at the back of the camera like this, and they laugh, I say, it's not you, it's not the camera, there's nothing wrong, I'm just blind, I can't see very well, I've got a really bad resting bitch face. And they laugh. Mission accomplished, because then they suddenly start feeling a little bit more confident about it. And I kind of make fun of myself. I explain the things that I do. I tell them, like, and this is actually true, I don't know what it is, I don't know if other portrait photographers can relate to this. My shooting space isn't that big back here, but I seem to lose my camera 50 times a day, and I tell them that too. I say, look, if you see my camera, let me know. And I make a joke that Canon should make fluorescent orange cameras. Pushing ahead, so behind the scenes, I think it's important, otherwise I wouldn't do it. It gives clients who are booked in a chance to have a bit of a sneak peek behind the curtain. Okay, that's the important thing there. It builds confidence in, people will see it, they'll see that it's not scary, you know what I mean? And I think that in combination with our Facebook group and then the organic stuff we put out just into our Instagram and Facebook feeds of all that behind the scenes stuff, I honestly believe that's why our failure, reschedule rate, cancel rate is nearly non-existent. We work so hard at, like, not subliminally is the wrong word, but subtly put it this way, all the content that I put out, to be truthful, is mainly from our existing clients. That's what it's mainly for. You know, like the testimonials, like, it just reminds them that we're reliable and professional, all those types of things. So I think it's important, okay? And bonus points if you can make it funny, you know, so that always seems to get the most traction, okay? And then the question regarding working outside my niche, I really don't do it anymore. It's very rare if I do. I've done a couple this year and I really regretted doing it. Actually, I've got a whole video on that as well, which I'll try and remember to put in. I find that there's power in saying no, personally. Having said that, like, if you're new and you need the money, I get it, do it. For God's sake, do what you got to do. But I think there's power in specialising and saying no. And you say, look, I'm really sorry. I don't do that sort of stuff anymore. And what happens is word gets out and they say, oh, I really wanted Richard to do my wedding, but he doesn't do it anymore. He's concentrating on his boudoir thing. And they end up with someone else who's awesome, of course. But the point being is that then it's out there, you know what I mean? And it's out there that that's just what you do. And so I think there's power in that personally. Coaching. I do a few. I don't do many, to be truthful, mate. If you want to have a chat, I'm happy to do so. My trouble is I haven't enough time. That's my problem. I was doing some people regularly, like nearly weekly, and now I've kind of just doing it like I feel like a bit of a pinch hitter. I'm just coming off the bench, you know what I mean? And when people need it a little bit. But it depends on what you're after, mate. If I've got time, I probably do. Thank you for watching. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did, please mention in the comments if you got anything you didn't understand. I'm happy to try and answer those and any follow-up messages. If you found your way into this video and you enjoyed it, I would love you to like the video, and if you're not subscribed, I would love you to subscribe. If you are subscribed and didn't ask a question, I'd love you to leave a like and a comment. That'd be really awesome. That really helps with the algorithm, apparently. And I think if that's so, but again, I want to thank you. Since I did that, I'm now over 220 subscribers. I have a small but mighty following. I'm actually very proud of it. But thank you for all thank you for all subscribing, and thank you for watching, and thank you for making it all possible. Until the next video, thank you again, and keep on trucking.